Everybody has a childhood classic that traumatized them, and today I'm going to be talking about Among the Hidden by Margaret Peterson Haddix, published in 1998. This is the first in the Shadow Children series, and in this world, families are only allowed to have 2 children. This book follows an illegal third child named Luke, and he has to remain hidden or else his family could be killed or imprisoned. Up until recently, he had some semblance of freedom because he lived on a farm and there was no one nearby. He could go outside and play with his 2 older brothers sometimes. However, the government begins to build houses close to their farm for richer families, so he loses all freedom. He's not even able to sit at the dinner table with his family. He is almost entirely confined to his bedroom. Because of that, he understandably begins to spiral into a depression. However, he soon notices that there's an extra person in one of the houses. I think he spots something through a window. One night, he manages to sneak over there, and he meets another illegal third child named Jen. They become really good friends, and over time, he learns that she's planning a rally. She has access to the internet, and she's using it to communicate with other third children in chat rooms. Luke is way too afraid to participate, and they end up getting into a huge fight over it. However, they reconcile that night, and she says goodbye. The next day, Luke is very confused because he hasn't heard anything about a third child rally on his radio. He sneaks over to her house and uses her computer to reach out in the chat room, but nobody responds. Suddenly, a man comes into the room and holds a gun on him, and that man is Jen's father. Despite having a child, he's a member of the population police, and he wants to take down the government from the inside. He explains that Jen and a bunch of other third children were killed during the rally. Presumably, the government controls the press, which is why Luke didn't hear anything about the rally. Suddenly, the population police raid the house, but Luke manages to hide. Jen's dad is able to get Luke a new identity of a boy who had just died in a skiing accident. Luke tells his family everything and says goodbye. He wants to continue Jen's work, and once the third children are liberated, he wants to tell the world about her. This book, and this series as a whole, so difficult for me when I was in 7th grade. Even before Luke met Jen, what kind of life is that? Staying in your room all the time, not interacting with anybody, even barely your own family. And then the thought of the children dying while trying to fight the government for the right to live. It was so intense for me in 7th grade, okay? Jen is my Rue. I'll say it, Jen is my Rue. Anyway, the whole series is really good and I need to reread it.